Boom, we are back. This is Right in the Money, Pod 103, the four Bs. Uncancelable. Uncancelable. And also, what?
Untouchable by sponsors.
Yeah, untouchable by sponsors. Why? Because we're fucking shit, really, aren't we? We chat shit. We're here for it. But hey, this is it. This is Sir Neverlook, aka the excellence of execution. He is Mr. All In, aka the $1 trillion man, and he is Dr. Evil 10%. This week, a lot less richer, also known as the People's Champ. You know why. Did you have to sell any Bitcoin or just to?
I was just getting HJs on the street.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Must have been a lot of HJs for a 5-star.
Yeah, I was gonna say you kept on coming back.
Oh, you better not have picked my spot.
It seems like it's a bit, I don't know, slow at the moment. I think everyone's just so concentrated on waiting to see what happens with this ETF, but it's almost we've gone into a bit of hibernation in Bitcoin world. It doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, it's the halving coming up as well, isn't it? I think I saw a tweet the other day, 300 days until the halving. So it's probably slightly less than that now. So
yeah,
this is when all things start to happen, isn't it? It's basically we hit the doldrums. Yeah, it's you kind of you have your bull market, which is super exciting, but then you have your bear market, and then but before the bull, you tend to just have doldrums, and it's almost like just having the staying power to actually continue caring about Bitcoin and sticking through it. It's tough when literally nothing's happening. It's better when someone's attacking you and you got something to defend, or you got bullish stuff going on and you talk about that. But when almost nothing's happening and the only thing we're really talking about is an ETF that probably won't even get decided whether it passes or fails for the next 2 years, that kind of feels like we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here, aren't we, on stuff to talk about on main Bitcoin.
But we're still here for the cause, right? The show must go on, and there is always still something that is going on in the world of Bitcoin, and so we may as well continue talking about this ETF and the approval of the ETF, because at the minute it looks like there may be a little bit of doubt over the ETF from the SEC comments. It says, so the regulator tells Nasdaq's CBOE that recent filings from BlackRock, Fidelity and others aren't clear and comprehensive. What do they mean by that?
It's just, I feel it's just paper talk at the moment. You know, that's what I see it as. Who is it, Odell? This is like a PSYOP. Still expect the BlackRock ETF to be approved. You know, that's literally it. That's what I just think. It's just the paper's pissing around, or I think it's maybe they're trying to shake people to sell. It's really hard to tell what's going on, but I expect to be approved. What was the stats on approval? Was it something like 400 to 1?
Oh, yeah, it was closer to 500, 575 to 1.
Yeah. So that was my reply to this tweet, really, because it's just because actually no, it's someone else who'd linked this article saying the SEC say the ETF from BlackRock is inadequate, and they were already cheering it, going, "Oh, everyone was so excited." And you just go, but look, that now instead of like the feelings, the facts show that this Bitcoin ETF is not going to happen. Well, how about the fact that BlackRock have submitted 576 ETFs and have had 575 passed? They've literally had one L in their entire history of ETFs. So
with that L being recorrected later on down the line.
Yeah. So essentially, this will be they essentially have an O. Their O has never really gone, in the truest sense of the word. So is this going to be their first loss? Because the data at this point suggests that absolutely they're getting this through. They would never have filed without knowing it's going to get approved. It's just, these are the kind of guys that have such strong links into the regulators that they would have already shown them their application, already spoken to the top guys and gone, is this going to get through? Because we ain't going to go public saying that we've submitted this unless it goes through. So tell us behind the scenes what's wrong with it, what needs adding, what needs taken away. Let's work behind the scenes. It's almost like when you have a G8 or a G7 summit, and they have these conversations about wars and funding for this, funding for that, and everyone's just suddenly on the same page and everyone's shaking hands and it's all suddenly a photo opportunity. It's not a real meeting, right? All the meetings happened months before, and they were arguing.
That's just the get together for the piss up.
Yeah, and that's what I think this
to fly around in a private jets.
Yeah, let's leave all that stuff for a minute. But all this is, this is a G7 summit, right? When BlackRock submit an ETF, it's like a G7 photo opportunity. They're not doing the work now. They're not waiting 2 years to figure out. They just know that it's going through. They've already done the work behind the scenes, had it all approved, and now they just have to make it look like it's a serious application that is being reviewed, because it would look dodgy if they got approved in 3 days when everyone else takes 2 years. So they'll sit there and let it sit for 2 years. But clearly this is going to go through. But it's a bit of fun, isn't it? Because we don't tend to talk about price and stuff, but this news came out, price dumps by 5% within minutes. Everyone suddenly, obviously people bought Bitcoin based on this ETF, and suddenly the SEC throw doubt on it, price dumps. But then within a day, the price is just back to where it was, because some people suddenly realize, number one, the ETF doesn't really matter. But number two, this is just, it's virtually unsourced FUD. Like, of course, the SEC are going to say the odd thing. It's probably some pleb down in like the admin department that said this quote, because it's not come from anywhere credible, really. It's just someone in the SEC said this thing, and it's so soon after they've even filed it, right? We're still only about a week or two into the filing. The SEC aren't going to really comment on this for another 6 to 12 months. It would be reckless for them to do anything else.
I mean, ultimately, who really believes that BlackRock don't have the staying power to then challenge this? Like, fair enough, okay. Let's say we finally get that one against us, and we lose the O. Just come back with another one, and another one.
Do you think they can afford it with their trillions of assets?
No. They might find some loose change down the back of the sofa, yeah.
Pull out a team of lawyers, for a few days.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's the powers that BlackRock aren't playing the same game.
No.
They're in the rarefied atmosphere, in the layer cake. They've got what shit even look like. It's for all the other companies that we listed last week that have applied for ETFs, they are playing the same game as everyone else. Largely, they are submitting things and genuinely not knowing whether their ETF will be approved or not. But BlackRock aren't playing that game. But BlackRock and Vanguard are two companies that they're essentially bigger than governments, so that they rule the world. They don't. They have to submit things to make it look like they follow the rules. But if they wanted an ETF put up tomorrow, they would just put it there. This whole application process is just for show.
Yeah.
I mean, we covered about BlackRock. It must have been about 70, 80 episodes ago, wasn't it? When you made us do that tinfoil hat episode. When you're still trying to convince us to go deeper down the rabbit hole, I was like, no, I'm quite happy here.
I know, I'm glad we did that episode though, because it's just obviously like the name Vanguard and BlackRock, they keep coming up, don't they? And before it was all, it's a conspiracy that they control the world, and you go, well, let's just fucking dig into their numbers and see where their funding comes from. Let's see what they put their funding into, and you realize, oh, okay, yeah, they own fucking everything, and that's just facts, right? It's all bizarrely public information. It's all just there. So now you just know, like by saying, oh, BlackRock pretty much rule the world and regulation doesn't apply to them, that would sound like a tinfoil hat comment. But if you go back and listen to our BlackRock episode, then you realize No, that's
Episode 15 for anyone really bored.
15.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think it's a conspiracy theory episode.
No, it's not that.
Oh, it's not that one. Okay, ignore me, whoever's
I think
listening.
it's called Follow the Money or something.
Oh, Follow the Money, episode 24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
that was
still
one
early, though,
where
but-
I think I was maybe a little bit skeptical at the time. Wanted to stay in my place, not too far down the rabbit hole. But yeah, things may have changed since.
We'll have to do a 9/11 episode.
Oh God. Yeah, I think your ask is we're talking. Oh yeah, let's do these special Bitcoin episodes. Mr. All In wants to do a 9/11 and a Hitler episode.
I do think I really do enjoy the special episodes actually, and I think we should look at doing one soon on something.
I think while we're in a bit of a
Once again.
slump, whilst we're in a bit of a slump
Yeah.
with the Bitcoin news, maybe we need to come up with one. But I think Mr. All In's offerings may be a bit too controversial.
Yeah, and
Well,
then
here's
yeah,
something
it's a separate topic really. I mean, there is some stuff we could do. I think we've had a few topics. I can't remember what they were to top of my head, but
What about-
one was the countries that we believe that were going to go onto a Bitcoin standard, and I think we had a few. Yeah. One thing that I heard today that was interesting, Rwanda. Okay, so when I think of Rwanda, I immediately think of Blood Diamond and a war-torn country. And so I was speaking to a customer today that they are very big on not just crypto transfer in terms of like people exchanging money, but just money transfer as well. But it's because it's been seen as a place for low corporation tax and a kind of a bit of a fintech hub in East Africa. So I was quite surprised at that. So as well as that, there is also a bit of a Bitcoin following there as well. So perhaps that could be one. There was also a post on LinkedIn recently around countries that were taking crypto in terms of their adoption. Well, again, I'll find that and come back to us on it. Give you the top 10.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, maybe I have to include that next week. I think we have talked about certain countries, and my favorite was always Pakistan. It seemed like it was going there, but since they had the coup, I don't think they're anywhere near that there now. So I think it may have headed down that way, but now they're pretty much American owned. It's not happening.
Yeah.
But actually, that's a conspiracy theory. I shouldn't be bringing that up.
yeah. Yeah, who knows? We'll have to have a think.
Global trends in crypto markets activity show. Loading. Okay, World of Statistics. Crypto owners percentage of population. Okay, going from the top down, and I won't read out all of the percentages, but United Arab Emirates is known to be the highest percentage population with 27.67% of crypto owners.
Crypto.
Yeah, it does say crypto. We don't know whether or not it's Bitcoin specifically. We'd have to look on chain for that. But underneath that, Vietnam, Singapore, Iran, United States, Philippines, Ukraine, Venezuela, South Africa, Thailand, India, Brazil, Pakistan, and then France at the bottom with 5.9%. So there's probably some correlation there, of course, with regards to macro events and inflation.
Oh yeah, although it's weird because obviously the UAE, that does surprise me really because that's a very new state. It tends to be quite rich. So them being high ownership doesn't fit that model because
I'm backed by oil as well, so it's a bit strange.
Yeah, but And obviously, yeah, but the second you say crypto, it just skews the stats, right? Because you got random freaking sheiks and superly rich people buying NFTs and random shit coins. So that's probably the majority of the people in Dubai and the UAE are just buying shit to speculate on. And that's probably the bulk of the back percent. Like, how many of those people are just buying Bitcoin because they think it's going to be the new currency of the globe? Probably a very small percent. Whereas when you go down to a smaller country, or a country that's more ravaged by inflation, like an African country, Venezuela, suddenly now, oh, maybe only 10% own crypto there, but almost all of them own Bitcoin, and they're doing it to get rid of inflation. They're not speculating on NFTs and shit coins. They haven't got the money to do that. They are using Bitcoin as a flight to safety away from fiat. So even though it's a smaller number, we need the percentage by Bitcoin, because I think that would show us what we want to show. Once you put crypto in, it just you don't really know what the stats mean. But yeah, should we move on to story 2? It's just
let's do it.
It's a bit of a warning post, really. Although this guy seems to have got away with it so far, but it's a guy on Reddit. He's posted that he's taken out a 35 grand loan to buy Bitcoin. They took out an additional 24 grand loan to buy Bitcoin, to a total of $59,000 to buy Bitcoin. And he's currently up 19,500 because his average buy price is 24K. So obviously the price is, what, in dollars, about 31, 32K at the moment. Yeah. So he's up a nice 25%, but come on. You can see by his post, this guy, he's not wealthy. I don't think he's even a particularly big earner. But taking out $59,000 worth of personal loans is super, super risky. It's worked out for him so far, but honestly, I would not advise doing this. It's very reckless. I always, it almost reminds me of it's very fiat, right? It's a fiat thing to do, to take debt. You should just buy your Bitcoin with the money that you earn, DCA in. Usually, when this happens,
hold on a second. This is the 4Bs, right? This is Pod 103. This is Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ. This is Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution. And I thought Mr. All In was with us. You're saying don't do this?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I say go all in to 100%. He's gone all in past the 100. Yeah. Once you go past the 100, you're in deep water there.
Looking at it, so kind of going to stats, he's on 60K a year dollars as well.
So it's a year's worth of wage.
And he lives in New York. So
yeah. He says it's quite frugal.
Yeah, he says
he might have savings.
He must be, because 60K would not. That's just a
rent.
Yeah, I have
exactly
a rent stabilized apartment, so my rent is very affordable. So it's still a couple of grand a month. It's not so. Oh yeah, it's stabilized. It's affordable. It's $500. It's still going to be 2-3 grand a month of what he's paying. So he's still getting beasted on that. I mean, it's like
that's half his salary gone.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this is. I kind of get what Mr. Allin's saying, especially since I'm extremely risk adverse about this, and it's going with the debt. So it's, well, what happens if you lose your job or you're not picking up contracts? So he's an independent contractor. So I don't know whether he means, because in America, when we say contractor, sometimes they mean like, like a plumber or electrician, or is he actually a contractor? What we can, someone who picks up independent jobs. So they could be like an analyst or data scientist, and they work 3-month contracts with companies. So either way, it's like, what happens if you don't pick up jobs? What's going to happen? You're in an expensive city, so it's not just your rent costs or your food costs a lot. And when you're betting on Bitcoin, so I think he says in one part, I don't expect Bitcoin to be trading in this range 18 months from now. I expect Bitcoin to be $100,000 per coin by then. So it's like, you expect why?
It's a big gamble there, for sure. It's a big gamble that he's expecting it to be there. But I don't think a calculated guess.
Well, I don't think it is, because he hasn't said why. Because if he said 18 months from now, what's your evidence? So okay, there's going to be an upgrade to Fediment and Lightning, which means that there's better payments. Okay, great, that's a reason. But he's just said, I don't expect 18 months from now, which is pretty much my logic. He's going, the halving's happening in a year, plus another half year. Therefore, I think we'll be well over Bigsby interest. But it's usually what is happening coming up to that. And the big thing is the ETF. And he hasn't mentioned that again. And if you look at his times of his loans, it's not in time with the ETF again. The June 2023 could be, but it's probably a little bit too early because I think it started to happen.
I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any thought process behind it. It's just, it is a true gamble. It is a, I hope and believe that Bitcoin will see me through, and worst case scenario, I can pay for the loans anyway.
Yeah, you could be down at a shitcoin casino. This is the type of person who exists down there, flipping on some Dogecoin or some SHIB or some Litecoin or whatever the flavor of the month is. This is the type of person and the reasoning which you would expect. And he's going, fucking hell, look at me, I'm a genius. Why? Because I reckon from 18 months from now, he'll be much higher. That's what you see people saying about Dogecoin and NFTs. There's no logic. He's not looking at the development of what's around the corner. He's just literally throwing it in the dice and going, it's going to happen, boys.
Yeah, I think he's just looked. I mean, it's just FOMO. It's classic FOMO, isn't it? And but fair play. The only thing I would congratulate is it seems to be that it's over the last 16 months, and now the last 16 months there's been little to no real positive price movement in Bitcoin. Really, like it's still nowhere near all-time highs. So true FOMO normally comes in around all-time high. So I think he's got good conviction. I mean, he does quite understand Bitcoin. He does say in here he doesn't plan on selling it. He's just going to pay off the debt. He's not looking to sell the Bitcoin to pay the debt. So he just wants a 2.65 Bitcoin, which is what he got for his 59K. And he knows already he wouldn't have 2.65 Bitcoin if he'd have waited.
Exactly.
He'd have 25% less because the price has gone up 25%. So, but yeah, it's not a good example. In this example, it worked, but in many, many other examples, the worst thing that can happen is, you do lose your job. You end up selling your Bitcoin, you incur taxes, you incur fees, and you end up with less Bitcoin, and you end up very stressed and strained because you took out loans you couldn't afford, and on an asset that you were trying to never sell. And it really hurts to then kind of admit failure and have to sell it. Whereas if you just use it with your own money and go up to 100% of your disposable income, obviously you need to pay for your board, your food, and stuff to do. But everything else, that should just be in Bitcoin and held forever until Bitcoin becomes the standard. And then there should be no real pressure on you to sell that thing. Whereas if you've got debt, you're gonna have a bank pressing you every single month. They want their payment, and if anything happens to your income, you're gonna have to find that payment from elsewhere, and you're gonna be dipping into your Bitcoin. And who knows, you might end up selling that Bitcoin because it's the bank is telling you when to sell. You might end up selling on a big low. Bitcoin could be dipping that month, and you have to sell a load, and it's a bad decision, but you're forced to do it. You're forced to sell Bitcoin at 10K, say, and then a month later it's back to 30, and you go, oh my God, what was I doing? And you knew it was a bad decision at the time, but you were forced to do it. So yeah, I hate debt. I hate mortgages. I hate any kind of debt, and even debt to buy Bitcoin. I'm all into 100%, but do not go over 100. Once you go to 101, 102, you go, where's that money coming from? That's someone else's money. Don't take other people's money. Just use 100% of your own and stop there.
And if you look through his post history as well, there seems to be bits about him taking out these loans over time, like updates and so on. So this isn't someone who's just made up a story for a bit of attention. It seems to actually be the real deal. And he is posting in cryptocurrency subreddits rather than just Bitcoin, which disgusts me a little bit. I think another comment is around the DCA or lack of. So he's putting chunks of money, and I think that what happens if it had bottomed? So maybe it would have been better getting the loan and putting.
That would be an interesting one, actually. Maybe if he didn't have the loan but was just DCAing, Would he have got to the same figure, however, because was he buying at a lower price point than now? That would be good to maybe look back and track.
But it's also the risk of not DCAing. So, if it did dip. So whilst he's been lucky this time, what happens if it gone down to 13 grand or something whilst he was buying? So I know that I've got a lot of regret about buying with a chunk of money near the top, and my average is below the current price. But that did make it, quite twitchy.
I was actually going to say, did this not inspire you to be a bit more ballsy, Dr. Evil 10%? Because there's also some other shit coins that you hold that you should be getting rid of and should have got rid of, but yet haven't got rid of. And had you,
I'd just like to say for the viewers and listeners, I do not hold shit coins apart from the nominal amount in my Coinbase account when I tried to sell them.
You got some XRP on an exchange somewhere that you can't access?
No, I sold that and bought Bitcoin and I can't access the Bitcoin. But at least I bought the Bitcoin. So for the viewers and the listeners, I do not hold shit coins. So Never Look was commenting about something which is a fiat asset which I hold.
What's this fiat asset?
It's one which we're all familiar with.
Company shares.
Oh, right. Stocks and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so I just look at it and think there's a couple of things wrong. It's a debt and it's also the lack of DCA. Both things could have gone very wrong. I have seen a post by Peter McCormack lately where he took out a loan for buying Bitcoin. And I think it paid off, but I feel he probably should know quite a bit about what's going on. So I think it's probably quite calculated. And I think
if he's honest, right, that loan he took out, I think he got that. Obviously, I've been blocked by him for years, so I don't know what he's been saying. But I remember.
Have you got a security tag on your whiskey?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you missed it.
Yeah,
hard times.
Someone bought this for my birthday.
Not really. It's fallen on hard times.
Yeah, someone bought me this whiskey. I bought it out of his bottle. It's got the security tag on, so I don't think whoever bought me this didn't actually pay for it. But I was going to say, yeah, McCormack, he got an Aston Martin, and he put that money and the loan that he got, he was staking his Bitcoin in BlockFi.
Yeah,
and we all know what happened to BlockFi. BlockFi went.
So he lost a chunk.
So yeah, in his whole he was proper bragging about it at the time, going, "Oh, I've put 3 Bitcoin into BlockFi, and that returns something like $1,000 a month, something like that, $1,000 or $2,000 a month. That pays for my loan on my Aston Martin. So technically, I'm getting this Aston Martin for free because BlockFi is buying it for me." And we all told him at the time, "You are risking that 3 Bitcoin. That 3 Bitcoin can evaporate." I don't think it was even 3. I mean, it might have been 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And because he was getting a decent chunk, or whatever the 7, 8% after reverse engineer it to go, how do you get $2,000 a month off whatever? How much money do you need in there? Probably 5, 6, 7 Bitcoin. And he lost that unless he got it out before the crash. His little genius plan, because almost straight away, once he took the loan out, the 8% in BlockFi went down to something like 3. Then it went down to 1, and then they went bust and they took everything.
Yeah.
So if he's somehow bragging, going, I took a loan out to buy Bitcoin, dude,
what's his
name? Put that loan into freaking BlockFi, mate, and you lost it.
That guy who wrote the book, he's a bit flash on Twitter, and he had something similar, but he was
parabolic, yeah.
But he was allowed to take his Bitcoin off BlockFi.
Because he got early word.
Oh, is that Pump?
No, that's got going Jason, parabolic.
Is it Jason somewhere?
Yeah, he's Jason. Yeah, he's like a billionaire. He's super rich,
and he wrote a book.
He was one of the.
Was it Hard Money Which You Can't Fuck With?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's a good book.
Yeah, he is a smart guy, but also fuck that guy as well, because we discussed him on it because he was an early investor in BlockFi. He got word that it was going under, so he had something like $5, $6, $7 million worth of Bitcoin in there at the time. He got it all out a week before the collapse.
But would Pedro have been able to get his in because of it being a bit of an influence and probably quite early in?
Yeah, maybe got it out, but I don't know.
Yeah, but back to it, he got some.
I do think he got wrecked actually, because people kind of rib him about the fact that he's had a shit record, him and Pomp,
but
in terms of their sponsors.
But it's also whether he's just saying, "Oh yeah, I got wrecked." It's whether he actually did.
Yeah, of course.
You know, like these people were deep into those companies because they were their main promoters. So this Jason, Mr. Parabolic, and Pomp and Pedro, they're all the big influencers of these companies. So I think they probably got their money out. But back to it, I was saying that he was talking about a loan which he got out, which he's benefited off for Bitcoin for buying near the bottom. So I think, you know, he's another example. And I think just one thing which I want to say is what the top comment for this in Reddit is: how do you not have back problems carrying on those iron balls?
Love that. It actually made me, I was literally laughing as I was rereading the story as I was clicking on as well. So yeah, that I upvoted that as well. Brilliant. Check the link out as always to any new listeners. Every story that we mention, there is an adjacent link for you to go and have a look at yourself as well. So on to the next story, brought to you by Elon Musk's Twitter. Less we say about that, the better at this moment in time, which is asset class returns since 2011. And I love this chart because the chart has the data. The data is all of the asset classes running from Bitcoin, the US NASDAQ 100, US large caps, EAFE stocks, convertible bonds, US small caps, EM stocks, gold, long duration treasuries, high yield bonds, EM bonds, investment grade bonds, preferred stocks, US REITs, US total bond, US cash tips, and commodities from 2011 up until the present day, 2023 year to date, cumulative and annualized. And what it does is provides you with a clear understanding as to whether or not you would have been in profit for that year or in the minus. Who do you think came out top, boys?
It's got to be Vanguard Retirement Fund
and US government bonds.
Gold, maybe the cash, the US cash. Cash is trash.
What I was wondering about this is it hasn't got the S&P 500 in it. Is there a reason which I'm missing?
The US large cap is pretty much.
I was going to say that.
It'll be a selection. It'll be exactly the same, but yeah, it'll be a decent amount of the same, won't it?
It's to say it, like Bitcoin's number one, but then 2 and 3 is the NASDAQ and large caps. So yeah, the QQQ, I'm pretty sure that actually is a Vanguard. And then the SPY is just the S&P 500. And then the next one is also probably a version of that as well, some kind of ETF that is also a blend of stocks.
Yeah, but you can get very small caps, you can get all sorts. So yeah, the different ones. The one which I probably pull everyone's attention to is gold. So gold's about middle of the stack, and it's what, 3.3 annualized? No,
2.
I'm wrong. 2. It's 2% annualized return.
Yeah, which is obviously behind inflation, right? It's not even keeping up with inflation. You're losing money if you're holding gold. And on this, really, if you're not in the stock market or Bitcoin, you are losing money. Since 2011 to 2023, that everything else is below 8%. So,
and just general commodities, they're down 1.3%. But I think, you know, what is it? Gold, oil, and some other bits and pieces fall into commodities. And oil, the price is manipulated, so that's probably why that's down. So it is really quite interesting to look at REITs as well, which is you kind of like ETFs for property, is quite an interesting one to look at. It's a 7.5%, but I think it was doing a lot better earlier in the decade. Yeah, it was. So it's started to come across some harsh times lately. And what I love about Bitcoin though is it's just like clockwork. So what happens? 2014 dip, 2018 dip, 2022 dip, 2026 dip. and then you'll get your greens in between, obviously, till you end up with full-on Bitcoin standard, which is when what I think a point whenever I read someone who's anti-Bitcoin, they always say, "Oh, it's too volatile." It's like, why do you think it's too volatile? They say it's too volatile to be a currency. Why do you think that is? Because the mass adoption hasn't happened, dickhead.
By volatile, do you mean it goes up too much? Oh,
It-
sorry. Too many gains for you.
It goes up. It only goes up 3 out of 4 years instead of going down for 4 out of 4 years, like a normal currency. Can't you see it's bad?
And I think like this chart is really good at just demonstrating that once you get out the first 3 years, right? So there's kind of parabolic growth in the first 3 years of here since 2011. Obviously, there's the first 2 years of Bitcoin are missing. It didn't really have a price. But then we have our dip in 2014, pretty much 60% gone. And then the first year after that, there's a small recovery, 35%. But then it's 125, then 1,300%. And the same pretty much happens in 2018. You have a big dip, 73% down, and then a pretty good recovery in the following year, 95%. Next year's 300%, then 66. So really what it's showing there is we're in 2020, or in 2022, we have a minus 65% dip, and we're currently on 82% green arrow. Obviously, the year's not finished yet, only halfway through. But really, the first year after the crash tends to be the worst year of the recovery. It's kind of just a soft cap bounce almost. It bounces off, kind of recovers half of the losses, but doesn't really do much else. But then it's in the next 2 years where the real gains come, and I think that's why 2023 is just a boring year, because we've had our crash, we had our year of pain. Now we've just had a year of slowly but surely we're gaining back to where we were. But it's the next two, so 2024 and 2025 is usually, if this all sticks to true, is where we go parabolic and just smash through until 2026, where we have another correction.
For me, what I also liked and enjoyed is seeing the other, I say crashes, or where it's in the minus effectively. So in certain years, so if we look at 2013, gold was down minus 28%. No one comments on that.
Gold's meant to be the asset that is super stable, right? It goes up 2 or 3% a year every year without fail, and obviously,
and then it had the next year and the next year.
Yeah, if you analyze it over 12 years, that is right. It does go up 2%. But if you're in gold, imagine switching your retirement funds out into gold in 2013 and losing a third of your value. You'd be like, what the fuck happened there?
I mean,
I'm not supposed to lose a third of my value being in gold. That's meant to be.
It's the same with commodities, though, as well. Commodities should be going up with inflation. So the fact is that gold and commodities are both at least half of commodities are in the red. Around about half of gold is in the red, for the years. So it's like, what's actually a good year to buy gold? Have you got to wait for a big dip or something? So we're currently in a green. You don't want to buy this year, do you? If you're going to buy gold, wait till you're in the midst of a price going down.
The one thing that did come out of this is like cash does have one use case, and the use case seems to be that every 4 years, at least for the last 8, or the last 2 cycles, so since 2018, basically, every single asset in 2018 was down, other than cash, which was at 1%. And when I say down, like down big, right? It's like you really didn't want to be in anything. And then 2022, everything was down again. Actually, weirdly, commodities were somehow up, but I mean, that's just an outlier. But again, cash is up, it's 1%. So obviously, I would never do this. But if I was a trader, but every 4 years, the fucking market tanks, and there's no safe asset if you are trying to get in and out of stuff. So you actually do convert into cash just for 1 year. And if you did do it right, that you rode it up, switched out around the top into cash, held it for a year, and then just buy the bottom a year later and ride it up for another 3 years.
But you do think that when you look back at it, all the signs of the peak of the market were there. You had BlockFi, you had SBF sponsoring, what was it, ENFN, NFL stadium. You had the
Oh, well,
Bitcoin,
they had
the
the
Bitcoin
basketball
boys.
stadium.
You
Yeah,
had the Bitcoin boys.
yeah.
What else do we have in there?
The
What other
Island
shit?
Boys.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Island Boys, otherwise known as. Then you had Mr. Parabolic with his Lamborghini paid for by BlockFi. You had Pedro with his Aston Martin paid by BlockFi. It was all there,
Oh,
and we
yeah.
didn't pay any attention because we're just like, I think we were bought into the concept and we just went, well, we can't sell, can we? I think we probably did appreciate it was the top. I think we probably talked about it in some of the episodes. It was the top, but no one was willing to sell. It's
Oh no,
just,
yeah.
I suppose the question is in 2026, are you willing to sell some other assets to then pump into Bitcoin?
Yeah, no, there's no chance. And obviously the problem is if you're in gains, then there's a 20% cap gains hit anyway. So I hate you probably could make more than 20% by doing that. But as always, right? I'll quote Michael Saylor, all your models are destroyed, totally devastated, Bitcoin to the moon. So I don't want to be that. I would never be that person that tried to just eke out another 20-30% more Bitcoin. But what I am doing there is risking Bitcoin not correcting that time. That could be the hypercycle, right? That could be hyper Bitcoinization, and we don't dip in
I
4 years'
suppose this
time.
is
And who knows? And then suddenly you're out the market, you're holding fucking fiat cash. Imagine if that happened, right? The 1 year that Bitcoin finally uncorrelates from the rest of the market and just goes parabolic when everything else goes down. That is the switch to the Bitcoin standard, and you're sat there holding dollars because you wanted another 20% more Bitcoin. Fuck. That would
what I
be
was saying is like,
devastating.
what about in 2026? You're not looking at trading in Bitcoin, you're looking at selling other assets. So whether it's if you've got any fiat investments, whether you've got any property, is that the time which you kind of go, oh shit, we're on a minus 50%, maybe I'll do that to then go into Bitcoin.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think 2026 is going to be a bad year for the stock market and whatever else. So leading up to that, and obviously it's a good time to buy Bitcoin anyway. But yeah, I would definitely be looking to convert assets.
You follow this guy, by the way, this Charlie Bilello, and wonder where obviously all of the data is coming from. I've been checking out the commodities because it's a high percentage in terms of the commodities. I can only think of energy prices, so electricity and gas.
Well, you think about oil, it's probably the biggest
And oil.
commodity in the stack.
Yeah.
And as we know, in order for the dollar and every other fiat currency to appear not bad, there's an agreement not to catch inflation up with oil. So it's never going to meet inflation. And we're seeing dips. Like, why would a barrel of oil suddenly be worth $40 and not $100, which it was worth a year ago? And it's because there's this agreement between the US and Saudi as part of the development back in, when was it, the 70s or 80s? Hence the petrodollar.
Yeah, and the 2020 in the commodities could be when obviously the price of oil went down to something ridiculous per barrel, and there was a surplus of oil, wasn't there? And no one was moving effectively at the time.
But yeah, they're there to hide the true inflation. So it'd be such an easy thing to actually monitor if oil tracked inflation and actually went up with inflation, but it doesn't. I've followed this guy now because I think I came across this just in my feed, so I shared it with the group. But I think going back to one of Mr. All-In's talking about trading Bitcoin, I probably relate this to some of the listeners, like value investing. So Warren Buffett, Benjamin Graham, I'm trying to think of some of the others, Nick Sleep. They're all kind of like
Guy Spear as well.
Yeah, but they're all value investing, aren't they? They're looking for value over the long term. I suppose
Monish.
Monish Parbright. I've totally forgotten the names of it. Joel Greenblatt. They all look at value over 5 to 10 years, and it's the same with Bitcoin. You're looking at value over time. The traders never rise up to be the billionaires like they are. You know, the day traders, there's no real famous day trader. They always seem to end up in prison, don't they? As part of a kind of like, what do they call it? One of those pyramid schemes.
Yeah.
What's the name of that guy who ended up in prison for about
scheme.
100 years in the early 2000s? I've forgotten his name now.
Oh, Madoff.
Yeah, Madoff. You know, Madoff was a trader, and he just ended up with massive deficits. It's the same with any. So look at Bitcoin just like you would with a fiat investment. You're looking at for 5 to 10 years, and just think of Bitcoin as an asset like that. You're looking at what's happening over 5, 10 years, and not trying to catch it on a up or down day. So you're going to lose.
Okay, well, again, recommend definitely taking a little bit of time to have a look at the chart. The data speaks for itself, and just buy Bitcoin. This is not financial advice, just a big fucking warning.
Yeah, buy and hold. Get those iron balls out and just hold it tight.
Yeah, it is funny though, right? Because I think sometimes the fact that Bitcoin went from a price of 0 in 2011 to something, just it kind of does skew the stats a little bit. But that chart, just breaking it down year by year, goes, okay, Bitcoin does take a hit more than other assets in the down years, but then it peaks way more and goes well below the previous all-time high much further. So it genuinely is the best performing asset of the last decade.
But it's also but look at the why as well. So you think, oh, no one's adopted it early doors. Well, it's been used on Silk Road. It bought pizza when it got started using for online transactions. Then we had country adoptions, companies putting on the balance sheet, development of Lightning. Then you've got Fedimint coming along. Then you've also got the thing which autonomous regions seem to be using it. There's a potential for more countries, and even when countries haven't adopted it, their people have, because they use it as a hedge against inflation. So those are the reasons why it's going to keep on going up. And it is spreading like a virus at the moment.
Yeah.
So do we want to move on to?
Yeah, let's move on to
everyone's favorite. Well, our favorite country lately, isn't it?
Yeah,
you love talking about France. This is one of those things. This is like something we could do a big topic on just for the law.
Yeah,
because it's
definitely.
It keeps coming up, and it's like everyone knows. Well, I think most people know what America did during the World Wars and kind of how they got their gold reserves, but not many people know how France got theirs. And I must admit, like until we started doing this pod, I didn't even realize France had gold reserves. But
I did.
Yeah,
I knew they had them, but I knew the USA stole them to build their infrastructure, then claimed they wouldn't give them back.
Yeah, and I knew they had French territories and stuff. And you go, oh, isn't that friendly? Isn't that lovely? Isn't France just spreading the wealth and being nice? And that's where they help immigration and they give back. It turns out maybe they're not giving back necessarily, more stealing fucking everything.
Dare you? They bought that gold with some pan, boursin, and van.
Oh, so I just want to confirm on this. I thought China was up there in terms of having the largest gold reserves because they've been buying over a period of time. But looking on trading economics, it's still the US out there by about nearly 3 times the next country, which is Germany, Italy, and then France, Russia, China, Switzerland, Japan, India, and the Netherlands to complete the top 10.
Yeah. Well, United States are top because they stole all the gold from the top hoarders during World War II. They were like, we'll look after it, safekeeping. You don't want it to fall in the hands of the Nazis. And everyone went, okay, we'll ship it over to you. But you give it back, right? Once this war's over. They went, pinky promise. War was over. They went, I think we'll hold on to it just for, probably safer here, isn't it? We're really risky sending it back.
It's
We'll
like,
look after it.
but it's the US. You keep on having these wars. You're not using our gold to finance these wars, and you're also not using our gold to finance all this infrastructure you've been building, have you?
What do you mean we have really good infrastructure now? I have no clue what you're talking about. We have not used your gold. Can we have it back then? There may be no gold left.
It's like, and do you want to stop our awesome wars?
Yeah.
I am gonna call bullshit on the estimation of gold reserves by country.
Oh yeah, it's bollocks. Huh?
I just think, oh yeah, US, Germany, Italy, France. Of course, they haven't put China top.
Yeah,
I'd be very
yeah.
surprised if China aren't actually top, considering what they've been doing.
That's the same.
But anyway, go on. Tell us what this tweet was. It's your tweet in it that you found. So what we're saying about France here?
France is nice. They have nice baguettes, wine, and boursin.
This is not what
this and they trade so much of it so well that they can buy gold.
Okay.
But France actually don't have any gold mines in France, which is the key thing, isn't it? So
we touched upon this about 10 weeks ago or so, didn't we? I think this was a bit of an eye-opener for me because I was pretty astounded when I read this. I think it's through Al Jazeera, which is a news source, so trustworthy news source.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that they have the French colonies, they have the French franc, and they basically use it as leverage to get natural resources off these French countries and basically keep them poor. And as we've noticed here, France has the fourth largest gold reserves officially. So it's probably more like fifth or sixth behind Russia and China is my estimation, because the US isn't going to admit to that. But France has no gold mines, and it didn't have any gold once they gave it to the Americans back in the 70s, did they? How the fuck have they managed to build so much gold in 50 years? But they do have these territories, and Mali seem to have a lot of gold mines, 860, and they produce 50 tons per year. So 50 times by 50, we have about 2,500. That's a convenient figure, isn't it, from Mali? And there's 2,436. So there's about 70 tons of missing gold from Mali, but it all seems to be stored in France and claimed by France. Actually, I think it's just a coincidence, isn't it? It wouldn't be the exact figure which Mali has produced over 50 years since France lost all its gold to the US, which has been taken and given to France or stolen.
You know, we should never ever do live maths on our recordings. So the figures are probably wrong. You're mistaken, and it's just a coincidence.
Well, I'm going to use Windows calculator to just check I'm not tired. So 50 times by 50, yep. But there is that question: where is that 64 tons of gold? But it does seem quite a coincidence, doesn't it? That Mali's production of gold from its 860 gold mines seems to have filled what France has as its gold reserves. But I think the thing which astounds me here is it's only coming up to 2,500, because I'm sure France have probably got other African countries within its colonies who it could steal gold off. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I'd imagine that they haven't stolen 100% of it. They leave some in the country, but yeah, it's just I remember discussing it at the time. You know, it's so disgusting. This, right? It really is disgusting. We just get fed this propaganda. I was reading the comments, and people were like, "Wow, that's actually really impressive," seeing as France got all their gold stolen by America, and people just laughing like it's funny how no one knows that happened. And they go, and the replies are just, yeah, because you don't get taught it in school. And we get taught.
The thing is, if I told my wife about France having its gold stolen by the US, she'd call me a conspiracy theorist, and then I pull out all the news articles to prove it to her of how we moved off the gold standard.
Yeah,
and then I'd just
be
called paranoid.
It's literally factually correct. All you got to do, it's not even hidden in Google. You Google like what happened to the gold, what happened to European gold during World War II. It says it. It says that it all got shipped to America and they refused to give it back. Instead, they gave us US dollars that they printed out of thin air and went, don't worry, every single
These are
note,
years.
that's as good as gold. This paper, it's as good as gold. Take the dollars. And the whole of Europe went, go fuck yourself. No, we want the gold. Like, we don't want this printed paper. These IOUs, like, no, we know what you're going to do. You're going to just break from the gold standard and just start printing. And suddenly we're just going to have a load of paper. We want the gold. And America just went, fuck you, we'll bond this shit out of you. And because obviously at the end of World War II, everyone was kind of fucked and not really up for another war. They just went, fine, we'll let you keep it. And then they, from there, they progressed on to be the world superpower. And you just go, well, what did the countries do? What does a bully do when they get bullied? They just go to a weaker opponent, don't they? And so France, suddenly they are the US is kind of the bully of the world, but France is the bully of the French territories. So they can just go, well, that bully stole our lunch money. How do we get it back? We can't get it back from them because they're too big, they're too powerful, they'll destroy us. So we'll go take it off these countries that we have some leverage over and stockpile our gold that way instead. And that is what they have done. And I'm sure like they'll claim that, oh no, we brought gold off the markets through our economy was doing well and we brought it all totally legit. But I would just go, well, show me the receipts. Show me that you did not take a huge portion of this gold from Mali. And if you did take it from Mali, show me how much you paid. Because I can almost guarantee you virtually zero.
You want receipts?
Yeah. Because I know the politician will have very long-winded, complicated answers that sound legit. And I go, okay, back it up with, show me you paying Mali market price for this gold. And I know they won't be able to show me that. It just won't be there. And it is disgusting, right? Because these countries are obviously trying to build. They're trying to make themselves better. They're trying to build their healthcare, build their education. And I was going to say, like, we have these really pointless and really patronizing, like Red Nose Day and fucking all this bollocks, where we send 6 million, 7 million, 14 million a year to like a random African country or whatever, right? And behind the scenes, we're stealing billions, if not trillions, worth of their assets, like constantly.
And then we've got corrupt governments who've been put in place by the West who are stealing the rest.
Yeah. Yeah, because we give them 14 million a year to buy some fucking malaria nets. We're like, it's all good. They're fine now.
Yeah.
But guess what? They'd have been fine if we left them the fuck alone and didn't steal all their oil and gold.
But it does make you wonder, in a country where somehow we can stop this, hopefully for a Bitcoin standard, where would countries like Mali be, after the last 50 years? Because I don't know, I suppose there's colonies going back a couple hundred years, but that last 50 years specifically, if we went on to Bitcoin standard, where would it leave them? I'd hope it'd be a lot better.
Well, I genuinely think on a Bitcoin standard, like industry and tech and finance and everything will just be spread out. It wouldn't be centralized how we have it now. You wouldn't have these hubs because what I think we're realizing more and more is the only reason why we have these hubs is because these countries are stealing other countries' assets and bringing it all to one place. So all the money that builds up infrastructure and all the good restaurants and the clubs and the bars and everything that you want to live and all the health resources and education and good property, it's all getting stolen from poor countries and getting filtered into the rich ones. So suddenly now you go, well, where would I rather live? Where would I get good healthcare, good education, blah, blah, blah. And you go, well, there's only 10 places in the world where all that gets ticked. And guess what? Those 10 places have stolen from the other 130. That's why they're bad. And you go, well, what would it be like if we stopped these top 10 from stealing from the bottom 130? And you go, oh, right, well, suddenly we would start to get parity. Everything would start to improve in these other countries because they wouldn't be keep getting smacked back down to square one. They would be building, genuinely in building and improving. And so I think on a Bitcoin standard, you would suddenly realize that, oh, these third world countries would not be third world countries anymore. They would start being just as good, and they would start to prosper.
And we can build up industry. They can build up a workforce that people can afford to eat. They're not worried about famine there because they can actually build the infrastructure, put the irrigation in place. And it just, you end up with countries which can develop properly without just going, oh, yeah, thanks for your handout for your malaria nets. We're actually 5 steps ahead now.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
You dug one well and bought us 2 quad bikes, but you stole all our gold.
And our diamonds. And you sent over some fat white woman who ate all our food.
But she's a marketing guru, so
looking at this, what Sir Neverlook provided, it's got the top players in the gold reserves. And what I found really interesting about this is about 20th down is the UK. We're below Kazakhstan, who got ridiculed in, what was it, Borat, Uzbekistan, which I don't think anyone could actually point out on a map. Portugal, Turkey, Netherlands, all these countries ahead of the UK, and it's just like, Jesus, the UK is in some real shit, isn't it?
Well, I even remember that. I remember Gordon Brown selling all our gold. He did it like 10, 15 years ago. We used to be one of the large gold players, and for whatever reason, can't remember which recession or which decline we were in at the time, but Gordon Brown just went, yeah, gold's a done asset, and just sold it.
He's not far wrong, but it's still the officially accepted one and a measure of wealth still.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, at the time, I don't think Bitcoin potentially even existed at the time.
No. It would have been 2007, 2008.
I was going to say that 2007, 8.
So at the time, it was totally retarded to do what he did, because you go, what are you selling into? Right?
Maybe he foresaw the future. Maybe he is Satoshi. And he said, "Don't worry, I will save you."
Don't be so blasphemous.
If he'd have done that, the UK would be paved with gold now, based on Bitcoin gains. But yeah, I remember Gordon Brown. Like the UK's example, I don't think there's any real conspiracy there. I think for whatever reason, Gordon Brown decided to sell pretty much all the UK's gold about 15 years ago, and that's why it's not there. And then seemingly we're too woke and nice now, so we don't steal it back like France are.
I think what's the UK have? It has Gibraltar, Falkland Islands. Does it have anything else?
Where it's like, go woke, go broke.
Yeah, we got a bit of oil offshore. Yeah, so missing.
Well, yeah, because obviously the Commonwealth countries are no longer feeding the coffers of the UK, are they?
No,
but it's still interesting because it's, I don't know, as much as like gold has certain value, and I'm still super skeptical about the supply of gold, like how much gold does really exist.
Well, this is it.
I
within 20 years,
psyops.
But you've kind of think in 20 years they'll be mining off asteroids.
Yeah, and then because the supply of gold is infinite, and we can even make it. We can make gold out of just raw metals now, using nuclear fusion. It just, at the moment, it's too expensive. It costs more to fuse common metals into gold than it does just to mine the gold out of the ground.
But that's just, fusion's knocked along a bit because we're waiting for that as an energy supply.
There you go. So you just fast forward 10 years. Now nuclear fusion is cheap, and you can buy a 10 quid machine off Amazon that does nuclear fusion for you. Well, now gold's infinite. You just throw some random metals in there and you freaking melt some gold out for yourself.
That actually backs up Jeff Booth's rhetoric, isn't it? The price of tomorrow, where things are right now very expensive, as was, he uses the calculator in the calculator app. Now the calculator, your sat nav, used to pay for a TomTom. You don't need to pay for that. It's all there digitized on this. So yeah, maybe nuclear fusion, not maybe, eventually nuclear fusion will come down in price.
You got to think that personal power sources have surely got to be the way. You know, even just better solar panels, cheaper solar panels to put on your roof. Maybe, like you said, a nuclear fusion reactor for your own. You put it in your shed.
Yeah.
It sounds insane now, right? But if you go back 100 years and go, oh, you can have a video chat with, you know, three people all across the world and just
Don't you mean four?
yeah, with 4 - 1 people and put it on the internet, and then, you know, everyone in the world could see it at a click of a button. 100 years ago, they go, "That's fucking insane! Like, what are you even talking about?"
But
There's so many
Yeah.
evolutions of technology in this. It's the same with batteries, and the batteries didn't even exist 100 years ago. They were literally just burning
you had a
fucking
crank.
the fat of whales just to light a room. And now we've evolved to such an extent. You just go, what can
Yeah.
happen in another 10, or even if you just go 20 or 30 years, like who knows, like
Well,
what
it
the time
depends
frame
what
is.
happens because you got the two timelines. You got one, the WEF agenda gets in, and you are back to whale blubber candles. Or two, you actually let people innovate and actually form their own timeline. You end up with personal power sources where you're not reliant upon a government and everyone is self-sovereign. That is how we've got to be. It's the only
Yeah,
proper
good
way
luck with
forward.
that one, bro.
Well, I've got these pictures of Klaus, which
Freedom.
are quite compromising.
July 4th. Yeah. We're here on Independence Day. Yeah.
You know, I went down the weirdest rabbit hole the other day,
Oh
right?
God, wasn't Klaus Schwab porn?
Whoa. We don't want to get cancelled now.
No, you can't get cancelled for this. Well, actually, weirdly, you might get cancelled for this, but it's very odd, right? There is a whole conspiracy around glitter. And it is genuinely fascinating.
Well, it's a plastic, isn't it? So there's a big thing about plastic and how they leak into skin, or the skin
No.
absorbs it.
No, right? It's metal. And there's only a couple of glitter companies in the world, and they make billions and billions and billions. And when you look at the founder of glitter, he is also one of the guys that worked on the atomic bomb. And when you try and have a look and get into and film or anything, these glitter companies, does high class security come down on you straight away. And people have tried to go, look, where is all this glitter going? Like, who is buying the glitter? What's it doing? And fundamentally, the biggest, and this is public, the biggest customers of these glitter companies is the US government. And you go, what are you using all this glitter for? And I watched this video where this guy, he was the descendant of the inventor of glitter, which, by the way, glitter is an accidental invention that comes from when you fine cut metal, shards come off it, and he created glitter. And one of the first use cases for glitter actually is you use it as behind planes when the missile gets fired at the black plane. What you can do is drop, but essentially a deposit behind the plane. It fires, and a load of metal shards come up. It confuses the missile, and it hits the glitter as opposed to the plane. It's actually so a lot of the government contracts tend to be around that. But the son of the guy that invented it went, oh, they just come to us with all these random projects, and you have to say yes. And one of the things that was super interesting was he mentioned batteries. He went, they made us make batteries, and again, one of the offcuts of these batteries is glitter, and the batteries are unbelievable. The lifespan and how long they last is just so good. But we're not allowed to talk about it. It's all highly confidential. He got fired from the company like 10 years ago. So he's just fucking shooting the shit. So he's talking, but he can't evidence anything. He hasn't got any laptops or any. So you kind of trusting him a little bit. But anyway, it's it's just, I couldn't believe when I just went, how can there be a conspiracy be around glitter? And then you start digging, you go, oh my God, like this might actually be like the glitter is an offcut, but the offcut, what glitter is an offcut of, is a load of these government projects. And when you start digging into these government projects, they do not want you to discuss what they are. And when you start digging, it all just gets shut down. And
well, there's always been the conspiracy
fascinating.
theories about was it other forms of energy, about oil companies buying them and then burying them, so they can't basically take their money. So it's probably, you know, like Saudi Arabia as a whole, as a government, I suppose the US would take them away, because it means, well, you have unlimited power. Like if you had batteries, which would be unlimited pretty much, you could stock a car full of them. You don't have to dig for lithium and cobalt. And they'd just, well, run for miles and miles, wouldn't they? And they'd probably charge faster. So there's always there's possibilities for this, and I think there's really simple explanations. And I think anyone who would discount that would be a bit stupid. But I think we can say today the show's been brought by the letter C for conspiracy theory.
I'd actually really recommend like people to go dig into glitter.
I'm on YouTube now, and you're right. There's quite a few documentaries about
it's
who
massive.
is the glitter industry's largest buyer, and the what else is there? The end of the glitter conspiracy. Yeah, there's quite a few.
Yeah, it's nuts. I didn't realize. Like, I think at the end of the glitter conspiracy, I think that's one of the videos that I watched, and I didn't realize that the internet has been going crazy over this glitter conspiracy.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
there was a New York Times feature about glitter last year. People have obsessed over identifying the mysterious industry buying huge amounts.
There you go. And the problem is, it's whenever you just go, okay, who's buying this and why? There's no answers. That's what gets everyone super intrigued. If someone just came up with the answer and went, oh yeah, it's going into car paint, it's going into arts and crafts, it's whatever, it's going into, you know, even if they just went, it's going into military applications, it'd be fine. But there's so much secrecy, so much non-answers that come from it. It just builds the whole, well, why can't we get answers? Why is it all so secretive? And as always, it's one of those, like when they're not answering questions, and there's usually something behind it that it isn't just a conspiracy, it's a genuine thing that they are hiding, and it's just, what is that? But yeah, that was a fun little couple of hours when I was just digging into that. Guys,
Right,
go.
well,
I must admit, I thought I dug into every conspiracy that I could, and then I saw glitter. I'm like, oh my god, how have I missed glitter? What the fuck can be wrong with glitter? That is the most arts and craftsy fucking little kiddie thing ever. You're telling me that's a conspiracy? That's fucking C. And then within 10 minutes, I'm like, fucking hell, there's loads here. Hey, and by the way, did you like the thumbnail from last week? That is AI generated.
What was it? We had to have a look. I don't think I paid any attention to it.
You're a disgrace.
Oh, I did wonder where you got the picture from.
Yeah, I'm trying to do now, but before I used to Google certain images and just steal other people's imagery. What I'm trying to do now,
all right,
instead of Googling it and stealing someone else's picture, just type it into AI.
So what did you type in order to get that?
Something like Larry Fink boxer, and I had to do numerous iterations.
What was the website which you used?
I used Night Cafe.
Night Cafe. I've never used one of these image generating ones.
Yeah, you get like 5 credits a day, and you can just type random things in. But yeah, so I'm going to try and actually have our own thumbnail. So it's like now we have a thumbnail artist that works for us. We obviously can't afford, or it's not worth creating one because no one fucking watches this show anyway. But if I can just type it into AI and they can give us a thumbnail, then why not? Eh? And I feel a little bit better because I'm not stealing someone else's thumbnail. Because really, all it is, we're discussing stuff that's already been discussed, or there's an article that's been discussing it. Whatever their title image is, I normally just rip it off and shove it as our thumbnail. Now I can just create our own. Kind of cool.
I like it.
Anyway, should we move on to the last story and get out of here?
Let's do it. We're still unsponsored and we are not cancelled. So let's continue. So, want to sing Bitcoin? Good feel good story for us to end on. Any volunteers?
What to take it? Yeah, I can take it. It's just a jokey one, right? I have no fucking clue who Bake Chan is. He's on
Me neither.
And yeah, he's trying to get a freaking song, a Bitcoin version of "We Are the World," and yeah, who knows? He wants a load of Bitcoiners to join him in singing the song. And the first thing I thought when I saw this straight away was, what was it? You know, during the whole lockdown, COVID bollocks, and what was the not Elton John, the John Lennon song, where
which all the celebrities were singing, like a bunch of bellends. And it's like, imagine when we're all singing from their 8-bedroom mansions with their private pools.
Yeah.
And everyone's just like, this is tone deaf.
Yeah, and it was super cringe, right? I hate to say it, but a load of Bitcoiners singing "We Are the World." I don't even know what that song is. He wants a load of volunteers. The thing is, it's not my thing. It ain't. I ain't gonna be fucking singing on any "We Are the World" song. But win the fucking Duldrums. It's a boring year. Why not sing for Bitcoin? Fucking go on. Have a fucking sing song. Create a song. I don't think it's gonna do shit, but we've got nothing else to do, have we? We might as well just sing a few lyrics. Why not?
Hey, if it catches fire because he's tagged in Saifedean, Breedlove, Natalie Brunel, Nasty Hoddle, Lee Currency Hoddle, and a few others, hey, who knows, we might get some traction. And I would love to see what AI generates from this. For sure. Yeah, so Back-chan, never heard of you before. You want to create "We Are the World" for Bitcoin. Good luck with that, you know. So yeah, especially wearing that shirt. Is that Stewie on the shirt?
Yeah, from Rick and Morty. No, Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty, yeah. Hey, he needs to get some sleep. We need to get some sleep. This has been Pod 103, brought to you by Mr. All-In, aka the $1 trillion man, Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution. And we didn't even announce her in the beginning. On purpose, not on purpose. Well, she's irrelevant because she wasn't here. She's never here, Mrs. No Show, aka still Mrs. No Show. Peace.